Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. My name is Drew Dameron, and I'm the library manager here at the Tokyo American Club. Tonight, we are very happy to be hosting professional runner Tomokazu Ihara. In 2007, Tomo-san was a Japanese salaryman with a very unhealthy lifestyle. For fun, he decided to enter a company-wide competition to see who could lose the most weight, and Tomo completely changed the course of his life. Running 5 kilometers a day quickly changed to 10, and then 15 and 50. And now Tomo's new goal is to run 100-mile races in his lifetime. Until 2018, Tomo continued to conquer every 100-mile race until he was crushed by the Barkley Marathon. Now, having crossed 57 finish lines, he is more than halfway through his goal. We will begin tonight's event by watching a short trailer to a documentary produced about Tomo, followed by a moderated Q&A between ourselves. Then we'll open it up for questions from those attending in person and virtually. For those who are joining us online, you're welcome to use the Q&A function to submit your questions. I'll do my best to get to everyone's as well. We have the mics here to the side. If you'd like to ask your question, go ahead and come up when it's time, and you can pose your question to Tomo. Then, after we're finished, we're going to end the event with some sales of original trail running merchandise from Tomo's company over here, and we'll also have a map that we can pour through that we'll talk about a little bit at the end. Thank you again for coming. Please join me in welcoming Tomo-san to our club.
Thank you very much. My name is Tomo Ihara. I'm very honored to be here talking to everyone. 13 years back, I used to weigh 98 kilograms, which is about 220 pounds. I was not a runner. I was just sitting in my house with no passion. And what changed my life was going out for a run. And since then, my passion is with trail running, ultra running, and on that day 13 years ago, I couldn't have imagined that I'd be standing here in front of you talking about running. So I hope I enjoy this hour with you, and please give me any questions that you have. And I hope today could be a turnaround for your life, changing your life.
Thank you. And this trailer that we're about to watch, can you tell us a little bit about this documentary?
Mm-hmm. So my goal is 100 miles 100 times. It is not all races. I mainly like 100 miles. So I've run 100 miles on a treadmill. I've run 100 miles on a 400-meter track. I run a lot of races, and this one day I like to run from the Japanese Sea to the Pacific Ocean, going through all the small towns in Japan, all the mountains. And there is already a race that goes through the Japan Alps, but I would like to go through the small mountains. And this is the one that we made a course from Takao, where I live, where we're going to go out for running on Friday. We started at my house and went to the first drip of Tamagawa River, and that's the famous river that goes through Tokyo. So Kasatori Yama has the first drip of the Tama River. So my goal was to run from my home 55 miles to the Mount Kasatori and get the drip of the water in a bottle so that I can bring it back to my home, to my friends, and to drink it with some sake. So that was a challenge. The full movie is 40 minutes, but I think we're going to see it for the halfway through. Hope you enjoy.
Great, so let's watch this trailer here.
めちゃくちゃ本気で37時間ぐらいかかろうとして、台風の影響で倒木が迂回することによって、あれ、ここどこだみたいな。
まあ、木を避けるんだけど、その元の道がどこにあるのかもわかんない。どんだけ走っても進まないっていうのは。
時間は経つんだけど、距離は進む。緩めなタイムもこうしちゃうんじゃないかな。
マジ心が折れましたね。そこは結構えぐいかもしれない。
走るリズム作れなくて、時の中では走りたく感じてた。絶対失敗できない。
あれは多分、辛かった
自分がやりたかったチームでやり伝える。 とにかく仲間のために入ってきたい。
こう走ってるんですけど全然進まない。
いや、すげえきつかった。
I think that was the trailer. Yep.
Right. Thank you. That looked crazy.
Are you going to go through the 20-minute version or just the trailer?
Just the trailer.
Just the trailer. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you would like to watch the rest of the documentary, it is online. I can send out the link afterwards. You're welcome to watch the rest of it too.
Okay.
Thank you. So I'm going to open it up for some questions.
Yes.
First, I'm just wondering, when did you try trail running for the first time?
So that was 2008 when I joined my previous company, Amer Sports Japan, where they have like Salomon, Sunto, and Wilson and all that sports brand. I was hired as a IT guy for the company, so I didn't have anything to do with running. But the sports company has a lot of athletes. The work and there was a competition when I joined the company, and it was to run 5K a day for 3 months and how much you lose weight, and that got me into running as well as trail running as well. Yeah.
Thank you. And that was a year after the 2007 competition, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And was there an introduction, like you went out with a group to go trail running, or just spur of the moment decided to go out solo?
So after 3 months, I lost 7K and I won the competition. And I tried to find a new goal. And we had a poster in our company, which was a trail running race in Nagano. And I just said, this is my new goal. And before going for the race, one of my colleagues was already a trail runner and took me to Takao Mountain.
So that was your first time then?
Correct.
Out there.
Yeah.
Did it meet your expectations? Was it as hard as you thought it would be?
Yeah, it was too hard. But at the same time, the atmosphere in the nature with the trees and the bird singing and the smell of the mud and the udon noodles that I had at the top of the mountain tasted so good. And it was just like a cartoon that was like a thunder in my head, going through my head, that why didn't I know this sport in the total of my life? And that was the day I just fell in love with the trail running.
And so you started to do more trail running than
more
road
and
running?
more and more from there.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. And for me, the distinction's not super clear. I just started to become interested in trail running this year, but what's the difference between trail running and ultra running?
So trail running is basically running on like trails, jeep roads. So that's generally trail running. Road running is running on road. Ultra running is about the distance. So normally we would say ultra running would start from 50 miles, which is like 80K and more. So that's the difference between trail running and ultra running.
Okay, so usually if it's 50 miles or more, then it's an ultra run.
Yes, so ultra running can be road or trail running, yes.
Ultra indeed, then I understand why it's named that way. I'm curious, has it always been popular in Japan, trail running, or is it recently becoming a lot more popular now?
I think it's not only Japan, but globally, the trail running population is growing year by year. Yes.
Did you notice like a peak or the first real impetus of trail running? Was it more in like the 80s, 90s, or only in like the past 10 years is when it really started to become more popular?
I know we've had trail running in Japan for 100 years. And the first 100-mile race in America was about 40 years ago, when it used to be a horse race, riding your horse for 100 miles. But the guy who had the horse was in the horse race, the horse broke down, so he decided to run. So I think that was the start of the 100-mile in America.
So not only 100 miles, but also racing against horses
at the same time. Yes. It's called the Western States in California. Yeah, it starts from urban. Yeah, not urban. It starts from around Tahoe Lake to urban. Yes.
Is it still going? No.
Yes, it is
Okay.
still going. I am in for. I'm on the wait list for next year's Western States. So I'm very excited to run it if I can, because I've been waiting for 7 years to run it. I've challenged the lottery 7 years, and finally I'm gonna be in.
There's no horses in the race.
No horses in the race.
That's good.
I'd like to use one at the end.
And I'm curious then how you begin to encourage runners into trail running, or like for me, I hiked a lot and I was really interested in hiking, and I started to see all these people running past me, and I thought, man, these guys are crazy. Like I can hardly just hike normally, and all of these other people are trail running, and I became interested in trail running that way. But also for people who are regularly running, they might be more interested in trail running too. So how do you encourage those people towards trail running or just trying it?
If you're going to hike a certain course on a mountain, there are short courses and there are long courses. If you're running, it can be, if it's going to take 2 days for a hike, maybe it can be like a 6-hour run for trail running. So if you have a busy schedule, I would recommend you to go for trail running because it's going to be faster, finish faster.
And how do you know which trails are good or appropriate for trail running? Like, and anything is okay?
Yeah.
Or what do you look for in like a good trail to try?
I like any trail. I can be hard. Most likely, I think people would start from easy and get to hard. Like if you like hot food, people start from mild and then they
work their way up.
Work their way up. I think it's kind of similar. Yeah.
And have you been testing all sorts of trails? I know you live around the Takao area. You find yourself, you're just always running there each little part, or are you often traveling and trying out all sorts of different trails?
Normally with my schedule, I will only be in Takao, running there. So I don't go to the Alps or stuff, but I would like to if I had the time, but everyone only has like 24 hours, so.
Sure.
Yeah.
And of the other ones that you have tried, are there any favorites other than Takao that you really enjoy in Japan? Any recommendations?
Yeah, Japan has so many mountains. Yeah, and I haven't been to all of them, of course, but the one that I did 3 days ago, I ran my 5,700 mile on 3 days ago in Kyoto. That was beautiful. It was, some parts were on the river, Kamogawa River, but the temples and the shrines and the big gates, and once you go up to Daimonji Mountain, you see a full view of the Kyoto, and that was beautiful as well. So.
Is it mostly through the city or kind of around the city?
Just around the city.
Okay.
So Kyoto is very nice. It is surrounded by the mountains. So basically, you can just do one loop around Kyoto, and it's about 50 miles. So if you do 2 loops, it's about 100 miles. Yeah.
And that was the race?
The one I did was just through the sightseeing spots. Yeah, so. Yeah.
Well, it's good timing then, I would think, with the coronavirus going on. There weren't a lot of people to have to fight with.
Yeah, I think it's safer than going on a subway or running in a indoor or something. Yeah.
Are you seeing a lot more people out trail running this year because of the virus? You see more runners that are trying to get out of the city and out in the mountains?
I don't have any data, but while I was running along my river in Takao, I did see a lot of people, more people running on weekdays and weekends on the river. So maybe they've started to do trail running, which is good.
That makes sense. I guess if you have a more flexible schedule, then it's easier to go to. Interesting. For people who haven't tried it before and are becoming interested, what kind of gear is necessary for trail running? What do you absolutely need? And then what are like the secondary things to get?
So first of all, we have trail running shoes. So shoes is important because we're going to be running on rough terrain. So road shoes can be a little bit slippery. So shoes first. And then normally we would just have my shorts this time of the season, long pants, long sleeve shirts. For like an hour or two run, that you can be as light as you're going to be on the road. But if you're going to go out for like 5 hours, 6 hours, I would recommend you have a pack, emergency kit, just in case you might fall and get some bruises. Emergency kit, a light, some food, because you're gonna start losing energy after 2 hours. A rain jacket. Basically, you're going to be out there in the woods where there could be no one that could help you. So you should have something that at least it's going to take you back home if you have something. Yeah.
I noticed some people go running with trekking poles, and some people don't. Is there a general philosophy about trekking poles or using them?
It has benefit by using trekking poles because it's going to save your legs. So if you're a pole guy or girl, yeah, it's nice to have one. I like to use it. For some races, they're not allowed to use poles, so I can't take them.
For some races or most races?
I think most races in Japan are not allowed. I think they consider it's going to damage the trails.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for your 100-mile races, now that you are 57 in, can you tell us a little bit about the preparation? What goes into the race, or maybe this past one for Kyoto? What kind of preparation did you do to get ready?
So I like 100 miles, but I'm now more interested in more longer distance. So like 200 miles or 300 miles. So the longest one I did was the Hong Kong 4 trails. Hong Kong has 4 islands and 4 major trails called the 100-kilometer Maclehose Trail, 78 kilometers Wilson Trail, 50K Hong Kong Trail, and the 70K Lantau Trail. And you use car transportation, metro, ferry to go to those islands, but basically you need to run it and then transport by car. Then you run 78K, you need to transport by the train, and then you run the 50K, you need to transport by car to the ferry port and then get on the ferry and then do the 70K. That's called the Hong Kong 4 Trails, and that is 298 kilometers. I did that in 57 hours 2 years ago. My goal is to break the 50, which no one has broken. So that's going to be in February next year.
It's still on.
It's still on. I'm not sure with the Corona situation if I can go, but I'm still training for it. And so it's almost 200 miles. So my goal for Kyoto was to be as fresh as possible after the 100-mile, that I can go for another one. So that was my goal.
To get ready for the 200.
Like if I was going to run the Hong Kong 4 trails that weekend, that I would be fresh as possible after my 100 miles. Yes.
And for the 200-mile, do you count that as 2 races?
No.
That's one.
Yeah, just one.
So that'll be number 58 then coming up.
Yes, that would be my 58. Yeah. Yeah. So my last one was 1 as well. Yeah, I was asked by the race director, is it going to be your 2 or a 1? And I said 1.
Yeah, so that seems like there would be logistics involved in that too. So it's not only running, but you have to catch the ferry.
Yes.
Too? So do you also have to work out these timetables for?
Yes.
Okay.
And some ferries you need to wait for an hour. So if you're just late for that ferry, one ferry, some guys can catch up with you within that hour. So yeah, and logistic wise in Hong Kong, some cars are not allowed to beyond the island. So all the islands. So you need to work that around with your friends over there. So I have some friends in Hong Kong, so they help me out. Yeah,
that's good. Street team.
Yeah.
And do they stop your time? Like when you get to the ferry, then your time stops?
No, everything's just whole thing. Yeah.
Wow. For these runs, I'm curious, what kind of like traditions do you have? Is there something like you always eat like a Snickers bar afterwards, or is there something that you always kind of do for every race?
I like ramen, so I'll definitely go to a ramen shop and order 2, and the master will ask me, "Are you with 2 people?" And I say, "I'm just one."
Just one, 2 for 1.
Yeah, I'll eat the shoyu and the miso ramen at the same time. Yeah, I really like food, so and sometimes I need to save it. So when after a run, there's no limits with my appetite, so I just eat whatever I want to.
Well, if you've earned it at that point, then yeah, you can go crazy.
Yeah.
And then is that usually what you use like to look forward to at the end? Do you have some kind of like reward to motivate yourself to get to the end? Or just the finish, that's enough? Or are you thinking about the 2 bowls of ramen the whole time?
Yeah, I love the ultra running so much. So yeah, I think about the race, what went through this time. I think the reason I keep on continue to do this is because everything doesn't go perfect. Even though my 5,700-mile I did in Kyoto 3 days ago is not perfect. Something goes wrong, and you kind of have the best plan ever. So I'm gonna go with my best plan ever for my 58, but I think something's gonna go wrong, and that makes me motivated to do it better, better and better. Yeah.
So on that point, then you are now about halfway through your goal. What's changed since the beginning? And if you could like tell Tomo before he started, like what kind of things would you tell him about where you are at this point and what you've learned?
So when I did my first 100-mile, which was on Tama River as well, it's called the TDT 100. It's called Tour de Tomo 100. So that was my first 100-mile. I did that because there was a race coming up. I registered in America called the Chimera 100. I wanted to practice whether I could do it or not. And it starts from Haneda Airport. There's a station called Tenkubashi, and there's a big gate, red gate, the red gate, and it's a start-finish. And you run along Tama River up towards Hamura, which is about the 50K point, and then you go to Ome Mountains where it starts the trails. Once you get to the top of Ome Mountain, that's the halfway point, 50 mile, and then you kind of come back. The first time I did it, it took me about 25 hours, and I said to myself, when I finish, I'm not going to do it again. But after like 14 or 15 times I did the 100 miles, 100 miles is not that far. So what was the question? Sorry.
Like what kind of advice would you give to yourself if you were starting again? Or if I decided I'm going to start doing 100 mile races tomorrow, what would you tell me?
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. I would tell myself it's going to be an amazing journey. Not because of the challenge, but all the people that you will meet along your way. The trail running community is so good that there's so many people that will influence you or change your life. Some people are very crazy, which is a positive way of saying you're a good guy. But they're going to change. They have tons of funny stories, good stories to tell, and that is motivating. And you cannot, even though you have money, you can't buy that experience. So I would tell Tomo on my first one to just enjoy. It's going to take long because it's taking 10 years, 12 years for me to run 5,700 miles. I have 8 more years. If I do like 5 a year, that's still a lot. I'm 43 right now, so I'll be like 51 the time I finish 100 miles 100 times. It's still way long, but yeah, it's changed my life. So yeah, definitely go for it.
So it's not just the running goal, but you also the community as well, and getting to know everyone else who are out there running too. That's important. I think for me as well, for many of us, I think the people that we work with are also very motivating. So I'm curious, of all of these races, you had very positive experiences. Can you tell me about the Barkley Marathon? I researched this a little bit, and this race is crazy. It is bananas.
Yeah.
So just first, can you tell us what the Barkley is and why it's different from the other kinds of races?
So maybe if you has everyone heard of the Barkley Marathons? There's a good documentary on Netflix called "The Race That Eats the Young." It's known as one of the toughest 100 miles in the world. It's been going on for 35 years, and only 15 people has finished the race. So your chances is less than 1%. I think it's less than 0.5%. And I've done 59 100 miles, but the two that failed was the Barkley Marathons. First of all, when you try to find a race, you go to a website, but there's no website. So you need to find a way to get into the race. So that's the start. And basically, you need to email this race director called Lazarus Rake that you want to run the Barkley Marathons by writing an essay, but you need to send that essay on a day, on a time, on a calendar. So it needs to be that exact date on that spot. For example, 9 p.m., 20 minutes, whatever seconds. You need to email. And then
you have to email your essay.
Yeah, my essay. And then you get in the race. So basically, you need to ask someone who has run it before, because he knows the date to send the essay. It hasn't changed for a while. Maybe he's going to change it because so many people know it right now. And then it's called the Barkley 100. So it's supposed to be 100 miles, but some people say it's more than 220 kilometers. It's a loop course. The race is in Tennessee, called the Frozen Head State Park. It starts at the Yellow Gate, and then you do a loop. One loop is about 40K. Yep. And normally a race has course markings, but this race doesn't have course markings. At the checkpoint, under a rock or under a tree, along the river, there is a book hidden in the forest. And you have your own bib number, so you need to find these 14 or 15 books. It depends on the year. You need to bring back the page of the number of your bib. If my bib is 50, I need to go to all 15 books and then rip the page 50 and bring back all the pages, and then show to Laz that I've run on the course. And then he asks you if you want to go for another loop, and if you are within the cutoff time, you're allowed to go. And he gives you another bib number, and basically you need to go the loop again and bring back the pages again. So that's the kind of the framework of the race. And the start time it depends on that year. The start will start after Laz blows his honk shell. From Friday, from Saturday morning 0 a.m. to Saturday noontime, within that 12-hour time frame. And after he blows this honk shell, after the hour, the race starts. So basically, you have 60-hour cutoff time, but you still need to be able to awake to hear the honk shell, so that you're going to be at the start line. I know some people has come from international and went to sleep, didn't hear the honk shell.
Oh no!
And he wasn't able
And
to
they missed
start.
it.
So
Oh no!
nowadays you're allowed to have some crews, so your crew will be awake for you, so I can sleep until the last minute of the start.
And then you have to be ready to go.
So that's the kind of the race. I've challenged it 2 times. The first year, since I've finished so many 100 miles, I did have confidence that I was going to finish it for sure. But the first year I got lost, and I knew that I was not going to make my cutoff time, which is 15 hours for the first loop. I was on book 8. It was snowing, it was thunder, it was so cold. I was in a cave with another guy called Byron, and he's run it like 3 times, and then he cannot even make a loop. It's so difficult that you need to do the navigation as well. But I didn't go back to camp. I could easily go to camp from book 8, but I wanted to find all the books because I wanted to make my dream come true. Nevertheless, my dreams didn't failed. Barkley is a place called your dreams go to die. But I wanted to find all the books so that I can use my experience for the next year. And I did get in next year, and I wasn't able to do 5 loops. I did 3 loops.
That's still really good though. That's the fun run, right?
It's called the fun run.
He calls it the fun run, the first 3 loops.
Yeah, and I'm kind of proud that I broke the national record. The Japanese national record was 1 loop. So at least I was able to raise my national record. So I'm very proud of that, but I still have not finished. Yeah.
I'm sure Japan is very proud of you.
Laz says you don't need to go for the 6th loop.
That's the prize.
That's your prize. And then the entry fee is $1.60. That has not changed. Yeah, $1.60. He just does it for the fun of sake.
As a librarian, I'm appalled that you're ripping pages from books, but it's a very interesting idea. Nevertheless, it's a very unique way of racing.
No, some of the books are the same, but they change it bit by bit. If they have a finisher, they change the entire course, because the interesting about the Barkley is that it gets harder and harder and harder. If you can imagine like what do you call the high jumps, they compete the first and second by raising the bar. Barkley is like the high jumps that if someone goes over it, they'll make it harder. So actually, the Barkley course right now is the toughest course ever. Yeah.
Did anyone finish last year?
No.
No one finished.
No one finished.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
are you going to do it again?
I'm in next year.
Oh, really?
And when you send the essay, you get a condolence letter saying you're in Barkley.
Condolence letters. Yeah. I'm so sorry that you're in the race again.
Yeah. So I got that letter. So I'm in. It's going to be my 3rd time.
Well, good luck.
Thank you. Normally there's 40 participants. Yeah. If you wanna.
So, how do you rest and recover? Then after a race, what do you like to do just to recover until the next one?
The best way is to eat healthy food and sleep. if I get injured, I'll go to acupuncture or massage, but sleeping is the best way to recover. When you train, some people think you get stronger when you train. Actually, you're damaging your body. So basically, you need to rest, and then that will make you recover. So sleeping is a very important part of the training. So I consider sleeping is my training as well. Yes.
That's a nice way to frame it. For beginner runners, what kind of advice do you give them to go from beginner to advanced, to cross that threshold?
For ultra running, I think it's very important to finish. You're gonna have painful legs. Your stomach might get upset, and things could go wrong. But I consider that is the beauty of ultra running. So for beginners to go to advanced, there are tough moments, but there are ways to work through it, and doesn't matter if you run fast or slow. Finishing is the most important thing you need to do, and you'll learn so much from that finish. If you do not finish, you don't get the experience as much as you finish. So I would consider to finish.
Do you feel like to move from more of a beginner to an advanced runner, do you have to enter a race, or can there be advanced runners without any races, or you really need to try a race at some point to get to that next level?
Not really, but it'll be nice to do a race, because race is fun as well, and the experience is fun. You meet a lot of new people and you get friends. So I would recommend to go for a race, and also you'll be thankful to have people serving you at the aid station, and basically the trail running community is so wonderful that there's so many great people, and if you continue the sports, there's going to be friends that cheering you, or friends that will be at the aid station. So friends that will be race directors, or yeah, I would definitely recommend go for a race, but not must. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. And can you tell us a little bit about the running clinic on Friday?
Friday. So I live in Takao. I used to live in Kawasaki when I used to work for Amer Sports. Now I am a coach, a running coach. I moved to Takao, where I can see the mountain of Takao from my room. It's about 40 minutes from Shinjuku. Fairly close to go to a very beautiful place with lots of beautiful mountains. Friday course, we're going to take a route that has not so many hikers, I hope. It's kind of a manner to go on a different course than the hikers, so that we can both enjoy our times. So we're going to go to Mount Takao, which is 599 meter. Today I went there and it was beautiful. You see Mount Fuji right in front of you. At this time of season, it's cold, but the air is so clear that you can see so far to Mount Fuji, as well as on the other side you can see the Tokyo Tower as well as the sky tree. So when I just got off at the Akabanebashi station, I looked up and I saw the Tokyo Tower. That's the tower I see from far normally. So it was kind of a good experience to see Tokyo Tower that near. So it's going to be about 9.5K, and it's there are some routes, but I hope everyone enjoys the course. There is a restroom at the top and some vending machine at the top, so you can just bring your water, and we're going to start at the base camp, and then they rent trail running shoes. So if you do not have one, you can rent the shoes and bring your running gear, and we'll just enjoy the moment. And the base camp has food as well as beer, so we can have a beer or lunch if you are ready for it.
Sounds good. We've got about 10 people right now, and there's a combined price if you're interested in joining us as well. Definitely. are there any tips for beginners? If this is somebody's first time to go out trail running, how should they prepare for mentally? Like, do you need to be able to do 10K to do this, or is it a pretty okay beginner course?
I think everyone just needs to try it first. Like for me, when I prepare for race or anything that it's my new challenge, I try to prepare as much as possible, but there's always not a perfect place that you can prepare. There's always space for preparation, and you need to open your door and get out sometimes. And yeah, you just come. I know the place. You're gonna be fine, and you're just gonna enjoy the moment, the scenery. So yeah.
Good. And I'll be going as well. So if I can do it, then I'm sure we can all do it as well. All right, thank you. So I'm going to open it up for some Q&A questions. We got the 2 microphones here. If you'd like, you can walk up and answer your question. Please turn the microphone on if you can. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I'll check if there's any online as well.
I had a short question for you.
Yes.
So of all the races you've done, the 50 miles, 100 miles, which one was the most beautiful, like scenery-wise, that you did?
That's a very, very good question. Yeah, it's kind of hard to choose, but I like the one called Cascade Crest. That's that's based in Washington. On the West Coast, close to Seattle. You run on a part of the PCT, Pacific Crest Trail. That was beautiful. It's in the August season, and I think you run about 30 miles on that the trail. That season you have like blueberries on the course, so you can just pick some blueberries on your way and eat your blueberries. And also when you're not on the PCT, you can see the PCT from far away, and that's beautiful as well. I would totally recommend that one. It's a one loop, and totally recommend that. Another one I like is in Hawaii, which is called the Heart 100. It's known as the second toughest 100 mile in America. It's it's a loop course, but it has a lot of routes, but that's kind of beautiful as well. Going through the Manoa Falls, that's a famous place for sightseeing, and you get a night view of the Waikiki beach. And after the race, you just need to go to the beach and enjoy yourself there as well. So those 2 are the ones I recommend.
Thank you for coming, and my name is Junji Koike. I'd like to share first of all what brought me here. I think the first race I joined trail running was the same race as you. My first training running was about 70 years ago, and the race name was called Jinbayama or Takao-san trail running race. And I'm 43 years old, and so the same like you.
Wow.
And so what made us different? I mean, so I think the starting point should be the same, but you are now the ultra marathon runner. Then, and so this was very impressive to me, and so that brought me here, and I'm very looking forward to running on Friday. And so this is what I'd like to share. And so my question is I heard that generally, what do you think about the difference between the American trail running courses and Japanese courses? I heard that the Japanese trail running races are quite technical, and but compared with the American or other European courses. And so what is your opinion about the trail running in Japan?
I think first of all, the landscape and how they structure the trails, America versus Japan is different. I see America go through passes rather than the ridges. In Japan, people like to go to the summits of the mountains. So I think in general, the course structure they make is different. So the course in America could be a little bit easier, but that's runnable trail. So for people who want to kind of run fast, those are good for America, and that's a beautiful trail as well. Going through peaks is hard as well, but you kind of get the view, and it's kind of totally different, and that can be fun as well if you are a masochist.
Okay, thank you. And my second question is what is the training for the ultra marathon? I mean, you can't run for like 50K just for training, like every day or every week, but you have to run more than 50K at the race. And so, for example, for normal like the half marathon or marathon, you just run the 10K or 20K, and it's enough for training. But for ultra marathon, it's not enough. And so, but if you run for more than 50K, the damage will be tremendous, and you can't run for the race. And so, could you tell me what is the general idea for training for ultra marathon?
So I used to think if you're going to run ultra marathon, you need to run a lot. I was not a runner, and I was not a coach. I didn't have any knowledge about the training, but now I do. After running so many ultra marathons, reading books, I love that stuff. For running ultra running, you don't need. I think running a long distance will be a good benefit for your experience, not for your physical training, because when you run long, that means you're going to experience a lot of things. Sometimes you need those experiences to move you forward. For example, you can get blisters, you can get stomach aches, but if you do have that experience and you know how to fix it, that will not stop you from finishing your goal. So long distance, I totally recommend people to run it for their experience. But for training wise, for me as well, I don't run more than 50K on a weekend. And you can be fit enough to go for 100-mile by doing certain training.
I see.
Yes.
I see. Okay, thank you so much.
We got two other questions that just came in online as well. One is, how do you train to prevent injuries from overtraining?
Yes, so that is a very good question. So for me, when I train for ultra running, I do periodization, which means if my race is 6 months ahead, I'll have 2 months of speed months, 2 months of threshold base training, and then the third one is 2 months of race focused. And within those periodization, each periodization, it is very important to have recovery run days as well as high performance days. And it's like going to recovery runs, high performance, recovery runs, high performance. When you do like high performance, like speed work, your body mechanics is different from jogging. So using and recovery run is very slow because you're going to basically be running at a slow pace and you should be recovering from. So you should make some people tend to do the same thing every day, like 5K jogs every day. That's like doing the same body mechanic every day and day and day. So that means you're going to use up your same movement every day, so that can cause injury. If you put recovery like jogs as well as a little bit of fast hit training or intervals, that's going to be different movement. So if you do different kind of training, that's going to lower your injury. Like a Toyota Prius car that has that uses gasoline as well as battery. That's very convenient. Your body you should be treating your body as well as using your gas sometimes, pushing your gas pedal, sometimes using your battery, and that's going to make you move more longer and be more economy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Like a Prius.
Yeah, like a Prius.
And our next question, for a typical 100-mile race, how often do you stop to rest, and how long are these rests?
Normally, I would just stop at the aid stations. I'm also a fun runner as well as I'm pretty competitive. So sometimes there are fast runners than me. So I tend to take less time at the aid station so that I can catch up with them. For example, I did a race in Nagano called the Shin-Etsu 5 Mountain. That's 100 miles. There is data that some of the top runners spend 30 minutes within the 100 miles, but I spend 14 minutes. So that means I can catch up 16 minutes. 16 minutes can be up to 3K, so that's a lot. So I try to not stop as much as possible. But when I stop, I will eat, I will prepare, and do stuff that I need to, gets me move forward.
Thank you. Yes, please. We have time for one more question.
Yeah.
My question is around the mental side of the race. Two questions. So how do you, at the end of the race, how do you work with the questions? How important is the mental training compared to the physical training? And then how do you work with your mind?
Yeah, that's a very good question. In ultra running, they say 30% is physical and 70% is mental. So there are moments that are very tough to go through. I always try to think that that is the moment that it's kind of the core part of ultra running that you need to kind of go through that moment. So when it gets tough, I don't have, there's no word in my dictionary called quitting, or if I maybe break my legs, of course I will quit. But if it's something in here, there's always a way to overcome it. So I don't quit. And there was a race when it was my 20th race in California called the Angeles Crest. The first year I did it, I was 5th place. I did a sub 24 hour. It was a good race for me. But the next race, next year, I thought I was going to go and win it. And I trained hard as possible, and I was in good shape. But when I started and when I was at mile 50, I wasn't able to eat anything. I threw up everything. It took me about 6 hours to go through this 10K section. And yeah, it wasn't my day. It wasn't, I was supposed to win, but I see all the runners pass by, and I'm throwing up. The last thing I thought I was going to throw up was my eyeball. That's hard it was. And yeah, I went back to the aid station and said, I'm going to quit to my crew. And my crew said, no, we're going to fix you, and you're going to move on. And I thought she was crazy. But She made me sleep, got something to eat, and she told me that when I told her I wanted to quit, she said that okay, you can quit, but this is ultra running, and there's going to be, if you're saying you want to do 100 miles 100 times, there's going to be bad moments than this. So just go over it. And she said, okay, if you want to quit, you can quit. But if you wake up tomorrow and look into a mirror and see yourself, you're going to say, why did I quit? And that kind of was stayed in my head. And yeah, I finished the race by walking the last halfway. But that was a good moment in my ultra running career, that there's not a worse moment than that. And it's good that I didn't give up, because I had a lot of good races in the past. I sometimes win it, but when it gets to tough moments, the race that always comes back in my head is that race that I was almost the bottom of the race. But yeah, to your question, so yeah, that's the good part about the ultra running. And once you finish the line, you will definitely be proud of yourself, and you will think that you made the good decision to struggle through the finish. So if you have that moment, you should always finish your race.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And that's all that we have time for tonight. Please join me in thanking our guest tonight. Thank you. Also, if you're available next January, our next TAC Talk will be with Timon Screech, and he's going to be here sharing his new book that was recently published. This is on January 13th, Wednesday. Mr. Screech is a professor of history of art at the University of London, and he is the author of a dozen books on the art and culture of Japan's Edo period. With his latest book, The Shogun Silver Telescope, the professor will visit the club to discuss the untold story of England's attempt to sway Japan's first shogun. So if you're available, please join us.